We'll start then, Tim, right?
Yep.
So can everyone charge some glasses up, please? Get some glasses, go and get some bottles open, please. There must be something to drink somewhere.
Yeah. There's lots of it. There's about 18 bottles.
I could do it. Can someone get me a glass as well, please?
Yeah.
Pete, Periscope via Essex Ham, yeah?
Yeah.
Tweet,
Tweet's gone out.
Okay.
Retweet if you like.
Right. Okay, well this is Radio Talk on the 14th of February, Tuesday the 14th of February. I'm joined by Tim. We're coming up to 7 o'clock, so about 4 or 5 minutes to go. Tim, quite a momentous occasion really, because we're trying to imagine what it would have been like 95 years ago in this very same building.
Well, I think that's absolutely right, Jim. I think what you've got to do now is cast your mind back 95 years. This is Valentine's Day 1922. The world is a very different place. We've just survived the First World War, the mechanised slaughter of the trenches, and we're looking ahead to the Roaring Twenties. This group of young engineers have got together in this very hut and are going to do this thing called broadcasting, but nobody knows what it is. The young Peter Pendleton Eckersley is going to walk to the microphone. He's going to basically announce a new age of media, a new age of broadcasting. It all happened here, and it happened 95 years ago, almost to the minute. I think at the same time, it's useful to play testament to his team effort. So what I was going to just do in the last few minutes before we go live is look at the Writtle team. Yes, Peter Eckersley was the power behind the microphone. He was the head of department. He was the senior engineer. But with him were Basil McClarty, Harry Kirk, Rolls Wynne, Harry Russell, Freddie Bubb, Noel Ashbridge, Edward Trump, and of course, last but not very least, is Miss Elizabeth Beeson, whose father ran the Cock and Bell pub. So this was the Writtle team, a very small team of engineers, mavericks, eccentrics, call you what you like, but they were at the time the leading engineers who understood the art of broadcasting radio over speech. And I think also, as people gather around now and we approach 7 o'clock, it is 95 years today. Just take yourself back. This is a world without television. This is a world without internet. It's a world where civilian aviation has only just started thanks to the guys in this hut. All you've heard on your radio for 12 or 15 years is Morse code for marine operators, for commercial traffics, and of course the transatlantic route across to America. And then suddenly, out of the darkness, on a cold but not frosty St. Valentine's Day evening, there is a voice. A strange voice. Remember, you are listening on a crystal set where a fine wire tickles a galena crystal picked up in Derbyshire or Cornwall, bought for your local shop, a long aerial hanging down the washing line, and you've got headphones clamped tight to your head. Only one person can listen at a time, and yet, out of the darkness, over 100 miles away, 200 miles, in fact, to Aberdeen, to Scotland, south of France, a voice of Peter Eckersley comes ringing out.
Hello CQ, hello CQ. This is 2MT Writtle testing. This is 2MT.
And it's the voice that is going to herald a step change in the history of mankind. This is the birth of British broadcasting. So I think as we approach 7 o'clock, and as Eckersley walks to the microphone and gets ready, so I'd like to take you back to the summer of 1922, to February the 14th, St. Valentine's Day. This is 2MT Writtle testing. This is 2MT Writtle calling.
And we will actually play, Peter. We've still got a few minutes. We've got about a minute to go. So I'd just like to say, has everyone got their glasses filled? Are we ready to? We're gonna make 2 or 3 toasts, and we're also going out live on Periscope as well and being filmed. So thank you for that, Tim. Thank you for those words. We're going to play some Peter Eckersley, and then we're going to come back and talk in a second as well. And I think we just want to soak up the momentous occasion this is, because we are actually in the building where 95 years ago 2MT was about to start.
And I think it's nice that as we sit here and we've got friends and some family around and people who are genuinely interested, and I'd like to think just over my shoulder, just behind Chris and the amateur radio team on this side of the team, maybe there are a few ghosts that are huddling and whoa, yeah, now that's got my attention. Look at that. Now, actually, Peter Eckersley's team would have loved that. That would have been absolutely special.
That's not the Melchior breakdown, that's the Murray breakdown.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Well done, Murray.
He's kicking bucket. Let's go.
Okay.
This is
2MT, and we're going to play some Peter Eckersley.
Peter Eckersley. This is
obviously appropriate.
Hello, CQ. This is 2M Talk, Ritual Testing. This is 2M Talk, Ritual Testing. Hello, CQ. Hello. Hello, Ash. Hello, Ash. Ash, hello. The signal's okay? No, they're not. Wave your hand if it's all okay. No waves? No waves at all. Kirk, is that all right in there? Kirk? No, not. Sorry. Well, sorry, CQ. Closing down a moment. Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. This is 2M Talk, Ritual Testing. This is 2M Talk, Ritual Testing. Tonight, we have a most marvelous thing that's going to happen. We are going to receive Rome, that famous Italian tenor, what's his name? Gridlico is going to sing Non Puto Furore Fantissimo, which being translated means, it's very difficult. CQ, the concert's ended. Sad wails the heterodyne. You must soon switch off your valves. I must soon switch off mine. Now we're going to receive it. There may be some atmospherics. There may be some jamming. There may be some oscillation. Woo! But hang on, CQ. We're just going to receive it now. Hang on, CQ. Hang on, CQ. Here it is.
That's Chris on the piano. Chris, shh. That was Peter Eckersley, and a cheer for everyone in the room, please. And congratulations to everyone 95 years ago. I'd like to propose 3 toasts, actually, and I can see everyone's got a glass in their hands, except for me. I've got a can of Diet Coke. There you go. First toast, actually seriously, I'd like to we'd like us to raise our glasses to 2MT, which is now 95 years old, and the gifted team who created 2MT. So the toast is 2MT. 2MT. Second toast I'd like to make is to the radio experimenters of the time, also known as radio hams, because without them 2MT may not have happened, because it was them that petitioned the Postmaster General. So the second toast is to past and present radio hams.
And future.
And future. Cheers. Radio hams. Yeah. Cheers. And the third toast is to the possibly now the unforgotten, or the forgotten pioneer of this whole project, and someone who had a major role in British broadcasting and indeed the power behind the microphone, and that was Captain Peter Pendleton Eckersley. So I propose a toast to Peter Eckersley.
Peter Eckersley.
And let's have one more cheer. Yes!
Yay!
Excellent. So 2MT is actually now 95 years old.
We certainly are.
Providing we got the timing right.
Yeah, that's all right.
Tim, did we get it right?
We're not bad.
Are you sure?
I think we're close.
Because every newspaper gives a different time.
It is. Well, don't you just love history? History is beholder. The Essex Chronicle has it at 7. The Essex Chronicle has it at 7:15, and they were here for the first night. When Robert Howe performed, he sang the Floral Dance, not the version by Terry Wogan, Sir Terry Wogan, but his own version with the deep baritone. He also sang a lovely song called Old Barty as an original entertainer, and of course the Cliftophone Cliftophone gramophone. And here's one just here, scratching away his 78s, played the hits of the time to an listening audience who could not believe what was coming through their headphones.
Actually, the mainspring feels quite good, actually. So, where was all the chicken muck then? Where was all the chicken muck? Jim, can you go back on and put this on?
Yeah, it's too late.
Yeah, look, see, it's going right out.
More authentic technology.
This was little removed from Black Magic. They never heard speech. and it became headline news. Headline news in all the newspapers. In fact, as we were talking the other day, Jim, radio societies, councillors move their meetings so they can listen to and tune into Writtle.
That's true, and the best story I like is later on in the year, they used to, some amateurs, or I would imagine it was probably Peter in disguise, asked 2LO to turn off their transmitter on a Tuesday evening so that people could listen into 2MT. I have rung up BBC Essex and asked if they'll turn off so everyone can listening to us, but they wouldn't.
Well, I think we're running out more listeners anyway this evening. Is that?
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, there it goes.
That's a very wishful thing.
Yeah, but I think you're absolutely right. I mean, 2LO came on as the first voice of the BBC. And during the summer of 1922, 2MT was the only radio station to have legally shared the airwaves with the BBC, the omnipresent BBC, until the advent of independent radio in the late 1960s.
And it was the first commercial radio station.
And of course, Writtle also had adverts.
Yes, yeah,
they did.
That's another
and in fact,
forgotten fact.
Absolutely, they advertised the Cliftophone Radio Company to thank them for their gramophone here. They advertised all manner of things, really just because the Marconi company wasn't going to fund their work. And they had to pay the artists. This was very much an evening session, but really they got very passionately involved, and what they did grew and grew. And we can't imagine now how quickly it grew. 15,000 listeners within a couple of months, all over Europe.
I think that the fact is there was nothing else. Well, there was some other things for people to listen to, but this was at a time when something like this coming on the air was one of a kind. There were a few broadcasts from The Hague, Dutch concerts coming over, and there were other stations. Gerald Marcuse had done transmissions, and there were radio hands who were transmitting most nights and actually playing music. The radio hands were playing music, but it wasn't broadcasting as we know it now.
And I think there was also a great difference.
Regular.
Great difference because this Writtle was regular, authorised, licensed, advertised, and never missed.
And boy, was it regular.
And boy, was it regular, absolutely. I can only feed you the lines.
It's not you feeding them.
And I think what you've got to also remember is that there was one other difference, and that difference was Captain Peter Eckersley. Because when he stepped to his microphone, this was not a formal music hall presentation. This was not what we would see from the BBC with pronunciation and top hat and tails and carnations. This was a young engineer, joie de vie, ebullient, not having a rule book, so why bother, but also a man who just liked to go where he went.
Hello CQ, hello CQ. This is 2M Talk, Writtle testing. This is 2M Talk, Writtle testing. Hello CQ, hello. Hello Ash, hello Ash. Ash, hello. Are the signals okay? No, they're not. Wave your hand if it's all okay. No waves? No waves at all. Kirk, is that all right in there? Kirk! No?
And he preferred lowbrow rather than highbrow.
Absolutely, and his half-hour broadcast became 90 minutes. They didn't close down for the required listening in period. Every 7.5 minutes they were meant to
realise that's where you get it from, Tim.
Absolutely. Shut down every 7.5 minutes. And then, of course, the radio amateurs had to put a call out on Morse code to check that the 2MT team were not interfering with the legitimate sources.
Well, we've got the radio hams interfering with us tonight.
Absolutely, enjoying the cameras now. Because
I
can say this on there because Eckersley said that, I mean, if he was interfering with legitimate sources, that made he was illegitimate. Or a bunch of... Oh, I've said it now. And now you're getting the idea that Eckersley really pushed the edge of the envelope way beyond anything. Yeah. This is 1922.
Yeah.
Victoria was alive when he was born. I mean, this is a world that is not amused.
I wonder if she tuned in.
No, she died in 1903, so tricky.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
point.
That'll be my Isle of Wight historian hat.
My strong point.
Yeah. And George III was mad, but he wasn't there either. Moving on.
He didn't tune in either. Listen, Tim, stop, catch breath. We mentioned Robert Howe singing the floor dance. And it wasn't played on a record because we have a picture somewhere here. I have a picture of, I've got it somewhere, I'll find it in a minute, from Wireless World, a picture of Robert Howe and a lady accompanist on the piano. And we do know that it was the first song played on that night because we have a copy of the Essex Chronicle news report I got that by wading through all the microfilm in Chelmsford Library last year, and I mean, I like the Essex Chronicle, but reading 2 years worth is a bit much. But it was worth it just to get that. So we've got that. We've got the Essex Chronicle report. They had one of their reporters actually in this hut on that night, and it says Mr. Howe's first contribution was a floral dance, which heard through receivers by the Essex Chronicle representative in a separate building some distance away. Ah, so he was in the receiving room. Ah, I'd forgotten that. It sounded beautifully clear and resonant, totally lacking anything in the nature of tin. The accompaniments, two rendered in pleasing style by Miss Elsie Berry, so Elsie was here as well, were distinct and tuneful, completing a wholly successful presentation of wireless music. Mr. Howe stood close to the piano and sang through a sensitive hand receiver or microphone. So now we don't have there are no recordings of 2MT. Everything that we play of Peter Eckersley is a recreation that was done later on. So we don't have a recording of Robert Howe singing on that night, but we do have a recording of Robert Howe singing the floral dance from a '78 record. I'd just like to play you a short snippet of this. I'm not going to play the full 3 minutes because you'll understand when I played you a minute of it. But it's just interesting to hear the type of music that was played at that time. Although I guess at that time this was cutting edge. This was the Robbie Williams or whatever.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah. So just going to play you, while we just catch breath, I'm going to play you a little snippet of Robert Howe singing the floral dance from a '78 record. There we go. Painful, isn't it?
It's got a very deep voice. Totally right.
Yeah. There we go. Well, that's how long's that?
Yeah, get out.
That's enough. Is that enough? Everyone heard enough? Right. Okay. Well, we'll do a couple more minutes, and then I want to play a bit more of Eckersley.
Talk about the post offices and things. The receiving setups and retail and things like that.
A couple of minutes, and then more Eckersley. Yeah. Well, I'll do a bit more Eckersley now. Yeah, is that right? And then we'll come back again. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, that's Robert Howe singing a floral dance. Oh, what a lovely song. we all agreed, aren't we?
Lovely. Lovely.
More!
More. No, I don't think so. It makes Terry Wogan's version sound very acceptable.
Average.
I played that earlier, and yes. So that was the first song sung, not played. They did play 78s. They were there on a Clifton gramophone player. But that was actually sung in this hut. We're going to come back to Tim in just 40 or 50 seconds because I'd like to play another snippet of the main man of the evening, Peter Eckersley. And this is him recalling the start of 2MT. And did I say that?
This is 2MT Writtle calling. And we will now play you a gramophone record entitled. The curious thing with a gramophone record was entitled, they're not called anything. And we just put on the gramophone record and then it was switched off. And then we had to wait 3 minutes to listen out to find if we were interfering with legitimate services. The programs later became a little more frivolous. There was a time when I used to go home and let the others do the transmissions, but one time I stayed and had some dinner at the local. And then I sort of suddenly felt that perhaps this formality was a little bit much. And picked up the microphone, jabbered, didn't shut down for any 3 minutes. And next morning, when we came in and had a post-mortem, all the staff sat round and said this. I said, oh, did I say that? Oh, my God.
So about 2 or 3 minutes, so you might be right, yeah? Yeah, Peter singing at the end as well. Tim?
I think now you get a sense of the magic that came from this hut and the sense of sheer surprise when you heard this for the first time. Nothing like this had been heard before, and indeed all across the county and all this country organisations came together to provide listening-in stations. We know of a big one at Writtle Agricultural College, as it was then, where they put a horn speaker and a receiver. In fact, the Marconi engineers from here did it. And 50, 60, 70 people would come and listen in. Town halls, community organisations used to come together to provide a listening station so you could go and hear 2MT Writtle. And it was a major event in people's calendars and diaries. And the next day, at the queue for the bread shop or the rest of it, people talked about what Eckersley had been up to the night before, whether it insulted Iceland, it insulted the trains, he told a risque story, he pretended to be an Italian tenor, as you heard earlier, and what new sound effects he'd come up with. Of course, people loved his play, the first ever radio play. They became members of the first ever radio fan club. They actually entered by postcard the first quizzes. And prizes were given out. In fact, I seem to remember that the winner of the first 2MT prize was a Miss Clara something up in Liverpool. I don't know what the prize was or if she ever got it, but it's a long time ago now. But I think what you're getting now is also, as Eckersley, when he came to the microphone, talked to his listeners. As if they were in the front room with him. They were his friends, they were his confidants. He put his arm literally around them over the airwaves and said, please come into my world, come into the world of 2MT and the Writtle, and I'll tell you some stories, which I think is fantastic. And with the formal BBC starting in January 1923, we probably never saw the like of it again for many, many years, as the BBC grew in size and stature, and nation spoken to nation. But this warm, friendly feeling of what Eckersley brought to his listeners was unique. And I think it's a story that we need to tell again, and just remember what the engineers did from here.
I agree, and that's really the purpose of this project, isn't it? To raise awareness of this story. We're 5 years early. When we spoke about this last year, we thought, well, we'll do something for the centenary, and we thought, well, we're an impatient bunch. Let's do something on the 95th as a test, and that's what we're doing.
There was also a slight concern that we might not make the 100th. Because
it's been a long. You speak for yourself.
It's been a long 3 days. I'm really quite tired now. And,
I'm looking around at a few people.
and strangely, I seem to be losing my voice, which some people have said is a blessing.
Well, Tim, keep on talking.
Well, what a surprise!
I nearly lost my voice this morning because I normally work on my own. I don't speak to anyone all day. I work away, listen to the radio, and I've now been speaking for 3 days. So tomorrow, I'm not talking to anyone. Sorry, Anne. Tim, I'd like to play another snippet. It's a bit longer. It's 2 or 3 minutes long. We keep on talking about Peter Eckersley, which is fine, but you did mention the other people in the hut who were all part of this experiment. And I guess the next person who is most well known after that is Noel Ashbridge, Sir Noel Ashbridge, who became the second chief engineer of the BBC.
He did, right?
I've got a snippet of him talking about 2MT.
We had 1 army hut. But an amusing example of this kind of thing, although as a matter of fact our regular concerts did not start until early 1922, I would like you to hear a gramophone record which was once made of Captain Eckersley in action at Writtle. Hello CQ, hello CQ, this is 2MT Talk. This is 2MT calling. Is it all right, Ash? Is it all right? You sure? You sure? What? I'm blasting. Hello, CQ, I'm blasting. Hello, blast. I'm blasting, all lot. But, look, well, I think, how are you tonight? I'm afraid, there's rather serious things that have happened this evening. We did expect to get some rather famous singer, but, well, she failed. Singers fail, you know. They do. And we've got tonight a number of telephone records, as usual. And, hello, what? What you said? What, Kurt? Oh, it's not going out at all. Are you quite sure? That's your fault. Then think they're connected up. Well, it is. Oh, it is. Hello, CQ. And it's all been going on. I'm sorry it was a bit understanding. A little bit of a technical hitch. Yes, you happen to. I know, aren't they awful? But anyway, I think we'll be ready to begin now. And the first thing I've got to introduce is a record entitled, record entitled, I think called something. A record entitled, Because God Made Me Mad.
that's Noel Ashbridge introducing Peter Eckersley on a gramophone record. Ah, he's still there.
Oh yes, yes, the old little song, I know. Dear less the concert ended, sad wails the heterodyne. You must soon switch off your bells, I must soon switch off. Right back and say you heard me, your distance and where, how hard for the engines failing. Wow, 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 wow. And like that. Well, good night, thank you. God bless you and keep you. God bless you. Goodbye. Goodbye.
I guess that's what we should be playing at the end of the evening. Oh, I don't think we'll be able to do that, but we'll see. We'll try. Just quickly, Tim, before you come in, I must just say hello to a couple of emails that have come in from Terry Chipperfield. Hello, Terry. Been listening throughout the course of the 3 days. Interesting, he says, I'm off to take part in tonight's contest. Terry's one of our Radio Ham friends, and he says, which of course wouldn't be happening if those pioneers hadn't been so persistent and of course successful. So yes, interesting thought. Welcome or hello to all the new Radio Hams listening. And we are a debt of gratitude to these people 95 years ago. And just another email from Richard, who's been listening in Canada since almost the start of our broadcast. Cheers and congratulations, Jim, to you and all others involved in the celebration. Watching you now on Periscope. Hi, Richard. Although you're probably hearing my voice about 50 minutes before you see it on Periscope, or the other way around, the wonders of modern technology. So watching on Periscope here in my office, we'll toast 2MT with our Valentine's Day supper this evening. Excellent. 2 reasons to celebrate. Hope you return to the air or perhaps on the wireless soon. It's been a great few days. Well done. All the best, Richard. Thank you, Richard. It was lovely to get your first email from Toronto Airport when you were listening to us. I'm glad you got home safely, and I hope you've managed to sweep all that snow off your driveway. They've got 3 foot of snow in Canada. We worry about snow, and they've got 3 foot. So I digress, but it's important to say hello to the people who are getting in contact with us. And it's been great over the 3 days to have some lovely contacts from people and to know that people are listening and hopefully enjoying what we're doing. Tim, I've got another Eckersley excerpt to play, and there's a couple of records I would like to play, but how would you sort of sum up? Well, we don't need to sum up because we're going to carry on, aren't we, really?
I think so. I think what you've got to remember is that this was a beginning. This is the start. From what happened in this hut with the engineering team, from small acorns to mighty oaks grow. So from this hut came the BBC. And the other broadcasting services around the world use as a model. In fact, Eckersley himself worked on the Australian broadcasting service and the system. And of course, Australia is a massive country, so it had huge technical problems. I think the other thing to remember is that all but one of the Writtle team, Edward Trump, followed Eckersley to the BBC. You mentioned Noel Ashbridge, later Noel Ashbridge, the second chief engineer, the first technical director of the BBC, became very senior. But you contrasted his voice as these calm.
Yeah, I'm going to add in something there. You know, this, one of the documentaries we managed to get hold of from Radio 4, which is incredible, an incredible story, how things have come together for this. There's a documentary produced in 1990s by Derek Robinson for Radio 4, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the internet. I managed to, through the internet, Google Derek Robinson, who is a retired presenter from Radio 4, found a Derek Robinson. I thought, well, what the heck? So I emailed this Derek Robinson. Are you the chap that used to be on Radio 4? Yes, he was. By any chance, do you have a copy of Radio Lives featuring Peter Eckersley? Letter back or email back. The BBC didn't give me copies of any of the documentaries I did, and I did hundreds for them. But the production crew thought this was such a good documentary they gave me a cassette copy, and the day after he'd sent me the cassette copy. So I'm sure Derek Robinson is not listening, but just in case you are, sir, thank you very much. It's just one of those coincidences that has come together. But on that documentary there's a lovely clip of someone who knew Eckersley very well, and at times there was not necessarily a lot of love lost between PPE and Noel Ashbridge. And apparently Eckersley's comment when he heard that Noel had got a knighthood was he wrote to him or said to him, I bet you were as surprised as I was.
They were chalk and cheese. They were both brilliant engineers, but they were the yin and yang. You've heard Eckersley and you've heard Ashbridge. Noel Ashbridge was the BBC. He was the voice of the establishment. And who would carry on building it. But of course, from the hut also, Kirk, Wynne and Ashbridge, as they left the hut and went to the BBC, they were the engineers, senior engineers, who were in 1928 to 1932 to oversee the advent of television. Because as television started and they needed the BBC transmitters at Crystal Palace, only Ashbridge could give permission. Kirk was the supervising engineer for the trials and tests between Baird and the EMI Marconi system, designed by Isaac Schoenberg, which became successful. And is television we know it before. But step forward another 3 or 4 years, and that work, that hugely important work at television frequencies, with cathode ray tubes and displays and high frequency aerials and transmission, is what we now would call radar. So the Writtle pioneers, and as they left here, not only oversaw the birth of television, they also oversaw the birth of radar.
I think it's just sometimes in history you get the right people. It's not planned. It just happens. The right people are working together at the right place at the right time. And again, what struck me recently was the fact that when you think in 1922, Marconi had built this amazing factory in New Street, incredible building, massive site, and yet these guys were in like an outpost. They were in this little hut in a field, and this was almost the only thing in that field, in a hut in Writtle, and they must have they were an outpost from everyone else. They weren't governed by what went on. They were allowed to be a bit irreverent and get away with what they did.
They were their own masters.
They were
3 miles away.
They were brilliant.
Down in Muddy Lane.
Yeah.
There was no telephone. In fact, when Exley went to New Street, he only went there when he really had to. And of course, Writtle was design and prototyping, but the designs were made at New Street. And Eckersley said he cursed the engineers there because they never quite got it right. Brought it back to the hut to test, took it back again. But of course, they like to be left alone because geniuses work better in an environment like the hut.
And I think it bound them together. I don't normally watch television in the daytime, but as I was doing a radio program yesterday, I sat down to have my dinner and I caught the opening episode of Auf Wiedersehen Pet, which is being rerun on one of the satellite channels, and it's where they all turn up on the building site and have to their digs are one of the huts on the site. And I thought, that's just like the 2MT hut. It was a timber hut, but it created a hut mentality, and I would imagine maybe there was something.
I think it is a team effort, and we should applaud the entire team. We talk about Eckersley a lot, but the other guys were equally. They designed the transmitters, supervised the programs, and as I say, developed radar, television, and of course VHF radio. They oversaw the advent of that, which is again changed the world as we know it. But I think that camaraderie, that team spirit, was probably born in the First World War. They'd all served, with the exception of Wynne, who was the younger of them, had served in the First World War. They had served in Egypt and Salonika, and had served again at Joyce Green and at Biggin Hill in the first telephony research. And although they hadn't directly experienced the horrors, they were day to day developing airborne telephony equipment, which again, in 1915, the RFC, soon to become the RAF, had no radio equipment. By the end of the war, every aircraft was carrying radio equipment, and it had been used throughout. As we come to the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Ypres and Passchendaele, that battles were run directed from the air with radio sets built by the engineers who would later reside in this hut.
Yeah, and incredibly gifted people.
Yeah, and amazing science.
I'd like to play one more snippet of Peter Eckersley, well, for the time being. It's 7:30 now, so we've only got half an hour left. But I think we've paid tribute to what actually happened in here 95 years ago, as best we can. Maybe on the 100th we'll have Anglia TV, and we'll have a Channel 4.
Dancing Girls?
But at the moment, who needs that? Well, we've got Steve and Pete doing the video. We don't need anyone else.
That's right.
And we're live on Periscope.
Yeah.
Who needs anyone else?
And the amateur radio boys have stopped interfering with us for a little while, which is
They
very nice
have.
of you.
They have.
And
I think
Chris has kept his trousers on.
Oh.
Hello, CQ. Hello, CQ. This is 2M Talk Writtle testing. This is 2M Talk Writtle testing. Hello, CQ. Hello. Hello, Ash. Hello, Ash. Ash, hello. Are the signals okay? No, they're not. Wave your hand if it's all okay. No waves? No waves at all. Curse. Kirk, is that all right in there? Kirk! No, not
Sorry, well, sorry, CQ, closing down a moment. Hello, CQ, this is 2M Talk Writtle testing. This is 2M Talk Writtle testing. Tonight, we have a most marvelous thing that's going to happen. We are going to receive Rome, that famous Italian tenor, what's his name? Gridlico, is going to sing Non Puto Furore Pantissimo, which being translated means, it's very difficult. CQ, the concert's ended. Sad wails the heterodyne. You must soon switch off your valves. I must soon switch off mine. Now we're going to receive it. There may be some atmospherics. There may be some jamming. There may be some oscillation. Whew! But hang on, CQ. We're just going to receive it now.